So we're going to look at MKBHD, talk about an iPhone, 4,000 3D printed engines from BMW, a new generation of shoe 3D printer, and of course talking about desktop metal because of course we have to. It's this week, it's Tuesday, whatever it is. So, but before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by Portals. It is a lot of effort to create a 3D printing business. You have to set up your Shopify or your Etsy and then your website, and then you have to print, pack, and ship each one of those orders. What if pretty much all of that went away so that you could just focus on design? That is Portals. Portals allows you to create a 3D model and then upload it, and within about 30 seconds, the prints are for sale to the rest of the world. After that, everything is on Slant 3D. We take care of the billing, we take care of sales tax, we take care of shipping, packing, customer support, and returns. All of that is handled by us so that the designers can focus on design and creating really awesome products, but then everything else goes away. So check out Portals today over at slantpod.com. That's slantpod.com. All right, moving into the news. So first big piece of news. Brick Fanatics. We've got news that Lego has started selling the first mass-produced 3D printed Lego piece, and it is a train. Let's go ahead and just take a look here. We'll finish up the notes here. Wow, that's a lot of ads. A new kind of Lego novelty is making its way to retail sets thanks to a 3D printed piece in this year's winter vintage model, but it's not the first. A 3D printed train is one of the many elements in the 10361 Holiday Express train, featuring miniature moving parts of its own in an interesting divergence from the standard Lego experience. This isn't quite the first 3D printed Lego element, though it is the first in a normal set, and you can watch, blah, blah, blah. The Lego group states that the miniature train is the first widely available Lego set, with all other previous 3D printed parts being part of a crowdfunding campaign. It's an interesting move from the Lego group to make this previous concept and make it available to the masses. Let's go ahead and share just what we're looking at here. Right here, you can see, let's go ahead and turn that on. Right here, you should be able to see the train itself. So this is, just a holiday kind of special run that they're running right here. And you can see the 3D printed train right there. It appears to be made with SLS, but its wheels actually spin and move, which is a big old change for Lego in the context of this kind of stuff. But this isn't new. Lego's been messing around with 3D printing for a while, but to do SLS, this isn't wild out there. That Lego train doesn't really have to interface with other parts. It's a nice little addition that improves the quality of the Lego set, but doesn't really introduce any sort of new weird things or weird challenges inside of it because the train is sort of separate from the bricks. It's just in amongst the bricks. But the reason it's SLS is because it's about yay big. You can produce tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pieces that are this big with SLS. We've been able to for years. So Lego's finally getting there. This is kind of interesting because SLS has been around since 2016 with MJF being viable and dyeable and that kind of stuff and scalable. But it's now taken almost 10 years for that option, that manufacturing method, to be tested at scale. And if this continues to work, Lego will expand from there. But this is a really good indicator of us just kind of being on the cusp of people really starting to use this stuff on the regular. Okay, let's move on to the next piece of news. FormLabs is starting a 3D printing service. This announcement literally came out today. We're filming on Thursday night for the podcast that comes out Sunday for you. The FormLabs just made the announcement that they are releasing a 3D print service, of course, run by FormLabs using FormLabs machines, SLS, and the resin machines. There's not much to it other than that. You can upload a file and then they'll print it. They're working on getting stuff out and delivered in under a week or so, which is perfectly doable with SLA kind of parts. I wish them luck. It's really hard to run a print service. Stratasys, 3D Systems, obviously Voodoo, obviously us, 3D Hubs, Xometry, all these other companies have started print services before. JLC, PCB, all those guys. Everyone has started a print service. Half of the people that I just listed shut them down because a print service is stupidly difficult to operate because people can upload anything. And if you're not ready for that, what you end up doing is creating a lot of meh experiences because somebody uploads something that's unprintable and then you try to print it and it doesn't go well. So it's challenging because that's kind of the first experience with people. So finding when you're a general sort of 3D printing service, it's really challenging because your process, your materials, your setup may be targeted towards a particular sort of item, like make this. We're good at making stuff this size and that kind of thing. But if somebody uploads something that's out of spec or unintended, then you can give that person a bad experience, and that's not what you want to do. So it's really challenging to run a print service. FormLabs, pretty decent sized company. I'm sure they're doing fine and they can run with this. And it's an experiment. They don't have to run with it forever. It will not be as lucrative as the machines that they sell, but it could be more broadly scalable. And FormLabs, again, has messed with this idea for years. Like they were messing with it. Actually, Voodoo themselves had worked with FormLabs a little bit on this. FormLabs had done some work with Gillette to do 3D printed razors. So this has been done before. But again, the challenge is maintaining a system that's consistent when infinity can be fed into you. This is why it's so hard to run print services, general print services. And why you generally don't see very many large general print services around. So yeah, it's just a thing to be aware of. But it's cool. It's cool that FormLabs is doing that print services are making a comeback. Zellerfeld's Gen Z printer targets mass production of 3D printed shoes. Mass production. I don't like the term mass production because people have no idea where it starts. Toyota considers it's 25,000. 3D printing keeps on pushing it beyond. Oh, it's got to be tens of thousands. No, it's got to be hundreds of thousands. No, it's got to be millions. It's like, no. The mass producing king of the world, Toyota, it says 25,000 is mass production. That's mass production. But anyway. 3D printing company Zellerfeld has launched Gen C3, its latest 3D printing system that combines higher speed, efficiency, and design flexibility. The company's long-term goal is to transition from factory-made to 3D printed shoes with a focus on personalization and more sustainable production. Our first generation Mono 1 got us to hundreds of pairs. Then Gen 2 printed tens of thousands. Now Gen 3 will get us to millions of pairs. 3 times faster, multicolor ready, fully autonomous, and ready to build. Our mission is clear, printed shoes on every foot, said Cornelius Schmidt, CEO of Zellerfeld. Hey, Cornelius, if you're watching. So they've got a new generation machine coming out. Their main factory is in Hamburg. I think they're building another one in New York, or it may already be in operation. I'm not sure. But yeah, Zellerfeld 3D prints TPU shoes, and they have been single color to date. Obviously, people always ask for multicolor, but there's ways of getting at that other than printing. So it's interesting that they went that direction. But it's cool that they're evolving because Zellerfeld has always been a very brand-focused company, and good for them. They're using technology to enable the brand to create something cool. But they are, they're ramping up and they're rolling. So the third generation Zellerfeld, I don't think they're 10 years old. I think they're almost 7 or 8 years old now. I think Cornelius started it. Oh, yeah, he would have had to start in about 2017 or so because we worked with him very early on in the history of Slant 3D. And he'd already been working on some stuff there for a bit. But yeah, Zellerfeld has worked with folks like Louis Vuitton and Moncler and a few other, lots of other shoe brands in order to create stuff. Obviously, they just had the Nike Air release, which must have gone well for them to be heave-hoing right into the new batch of shoes. So congratulations to them. This is really awesome to see. But yeah, the 3D printed shoes, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they scale them up. Right now, I think it takes them about 24 hours to turn out a pair of shoes. If it's 3 times faster, then it leads that they should be able to print one of these shoes in 8 hours. That is impressive, given that CPU is tough to move that quickly. But no, that's awesome. Great to see another company scaling up and rolling along. And now BMW, printing 4,000 sand cores. Well, do we want to get to that, or do we want to talk about desktop metal? I'll get back to desktop metal. Desktop metal is juicy. Let's do that. Cool. Okay. So BMW makes 4,000 3D printed sand cores per day. This actually will lead into it a little bit. In the case of the e-motor housing for the Gen 6, we are not using 3D printing sand cores, but cores made with a conventional core shooting process and inorganic binders. However, we do use additive manufacturing for sand cores with a more complex geometry such as the water jacket core of the 6 and 4 cylinder head variants. We produce close to 4,000 units per day in large-scale series production on 17 printers. Production takes place emission-free with environmentally friendly inorganic binder systems. So, most car engines are sand cast. So you create a mold inside of a sand casting, and then you shoot it full of aluminum or molten steel, and then the part falls out of that sand cast, and you go make another cast. Those casts are disposable because you tear all the sand away once the part is hardened. 3D printing lets you create really specific, really complex sand castable parts that can't be casted because you don't have the original geometry. 17 printers are producing 4,000 parts per day. That's impressive for even binder jetting. However, these are the water jacket core and 6 and 4 cylinder head variants of the 6 and 4 cylinder head variants. So the water jacket core, actually, I'm not sure. I know I'm familiar with the water jacket, but okay. So the water jacket core is basically a cooling system around the cylinders themselves. So if you have all the cylinders going up around, the water jacket core goes up in between the cylinders. It's a reasonably small part, which is why I understand that only 17 machines are making the 4,000 parts per day and why they're also sort of smaller. But that being said, this is still impressive and it's cool to see. And actually, they might have a larger. Actually, the water jacket cores may be larger pieces. I may be selling these short. Actually, my bad. Here's a water jacket core. Let's go ahead and send this up here. I'll share my screen here. Right here, this is a water jacket core. It is not the one we're necessarily talking about right now, but it is one that's around. So that you can kind of see what that is. It's a cooling system around the heads of all of the cylinders. And it can be reasonably complex if you're 3D printing it. So, but this is nifty because BMW, 4,000 pieces per day, that's a bunch of cars. That's a bunch of parts. I think it's interesting that people are like, mass production 3D printing is up and coming. I'm like, it's here. It's been here. We broke even with injection molding at 100,000 pieces back in 2020. Like, mass production isn't a goal to be hit. It's here. It has a lot of stink on it inside of the industry because everybody's like, oh, Desktop Metal said mass production and they didn't do it. I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of other companies doing this. So mass production has been being done for a while and is increasingly being done in more and more applications. So the idea that printing is unscalable is just completely ridiculous at this point because it's so obviously is. So that's, yeah. All right, moving on to the next thing. ARC takes over Desktop Metal with a focus on AI and US manufacturing. So, Desktop Metal went bankrupt a month or two ago. They were just purchased. ARC acquired key assets out of bankruptcy for $7 million and is relaunching the business with a vision to build a fast, AI-driven, and production-ready advanced manufacturing platform in the US. Desktop Metal 3 years ago was $1 billion. After bankruptcy, some of the pieces, not all of the pieces, but apparently a large chunk of the pieces, mainly the binder jetting tech, were sold for $7 million. Wow. It's not much. So, CEO of ARC, we view this as the right technology at the right time. Desktop Metal's core technologies were ahead of their time. However, the software and simulation tools were not yet mature enough to unlock their full value. But that has changed with advances in AI, digital twins, large language models, even hierarchical reasoning systems. This platform finally has the tools it needs to succeed. It just didn't have the runway to get there before. Now with the right focus, it can. All right, let's go through the story of Desktop Metal. Desktop Metal promised metal 3D printing. I had said multiple times that metal 3D printing was still too early because if you upload a different part to that machine, your entire baking process changes. And again, the reason print services are so difficult. So you can build a recipe for a particular part and a particular configuration, but it's not really that flexible. You're effectively building an injection molding machine that's using 3D printing. So it's not really viable. Desktop Metal thought they could get to kind of more on-demand sort of production of parts by being able to simulate how the part would bake with software. And as they're alluding to, that never really materialized. So you just had a binder jetting metal machine. They could work on very specific tools, parts, after you had tested it enough to get the part reliable, which, by the way, is true of pretty much all 3D printing. If you want to mass produce a 3D printed part, you have to run through it a bit to produce the part reliably or know what you're doing on how to design a part. But their belief is that software is caught up enough now and ChatGPT will solve the problems. That's fair. And for $7 million, it's a fairly cheap. It's not, I mean, $7 million is nothing, not nothing by any means. It's a lot of money. But compared to what Desktop Metal was, it's not a lot of money. ARC acquired an intellectual property suite that includes binder jet platforms like the Production System and X Series, Adaptive 3D's elastomer and resin materials such as free foam and DuraChain, AI-based material discovery tools, digital twins, and simulation tools. This is going to be a laser-focused team that eats, sleeps, and breathes this technology, he said. Following the API, we grew from 200 to nearly 1,400 employees and expanded into more than 40 global locations. That spread us thin. Now we finally have the opportunity to simplify, focus, and execute on the core technologies that Desktop Metal was built on. That's what we're here to do. So the gentleman who took over, Thomas Nagira, I apologize if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, Thomas, but he was the COO for Desktop Metal for a while. And this sort of gives some insight to the company. Desktop Metal absolutely was a startup that knew how to build hype. But when you're a public company, you always have to be doing something that is new and exciting, which for Desktop Metal was acquiring other companies, adding more technologies, continuing to grow the vision. But the problem with that is that they were doing it at the expense of growing the core technology that they were based on. They're like, okay, we're making Desktop Metal. We've got all these cool clients. We've got the Koch brothers investing in us. Let's go public. All right, now what are we going to do? The metal's not ready yet. Okay, well, we got to do something. So let's acquire this company and bring it in and show how awesome it is and so on and so forth, so that you continually have something to drop news about if your core technology is kind of stalled. Now, ARC believes that the core technology was stalled because of technology of the time and that they can fix it now going forward. And that may well be because, again, like they say, they get to focus on just that core metal 3D printing technology. So it's interesting and it should be fun. All righty here. Let's go back to main stuff. All right. That's the news, guys. A lot of good news this week. Isn't that good news this week? I love it when there's this much news. That is a lot more fun. Okay. Announcements, company updates, and that kind of stuff. Nothing much on Tangled, nothing much on other projects there. I'm going to talk about Portals. So Portals, we released it 2 weeks ago. Talked about it at the beginning. Portals, you get to upload a file, and in 30 seconds, you will have a link to sell the actual physical print of that file. And when you upload it and somebody buys it, Slant 3D will print the item, pack it up, ship it straight to your customer, handle customer support, returns, sales tax, everything else. You just download your money from your design. It's kind of, I don't want to call it licensing to us because that's not right, but you're creating a storefront for your designs where the actual prints will be delivered to people. This is such a big deal. And it's so cool to see that we're enabling this finally for 3D modelers and designers, because designers have always been restricted to only selling the 3D model. And this is a terrible way of doing it because as soon as you sell a 3D model, you've lost control of your part. Although for 3D designers out there, the cool thing I was talking about with one of the founders of STL Flex the other day that I recommend you do, and I'll talk about here in a second. But selling the file gives the file away. If that happens, you then have to create new files next month in order to sell more stuff. That's for selling to people with 3D printers. But if you're just selling the objects, the items, that kind of stuff, then you are selling to everybody on the planet, not just people with 3D printers. And you also have a broader reach and more customers available who would potentially buy it. So you have more people to buy it. You just have more people to buy it. And that creates all kinds of good things in marketing and all the rest of it. It's easier to get people to buy it. It's easier to make the money. You have a broader reach, all of that. You can go viral, all of that stuff. So it's very enabling to designers. And a thing but in addition to that, it is so easy to do that it's very flattening for anybody who wants to create a physical product. The thing I always talk about is like a kid in Africa can now go on portals, upload a file, and sell something to a woman in New York who will get her widget in the mail and will be delighted. And that was not possible 4 weeks ago. Portals is free. It will always have a free tier to it. We're going to introduce some subscription stuff down the line because we got to pay the bills. And there's a lot of extra cool stuff that we can do, but it's more expensive to run. But Portals is free. You don't, and it takes literally, you sign up with an email and then you can start creating portals. Unlike every other marketplace where you have to spend an hour rolling through, building out the storefront, all this stuff, connecting your Shopify to this thing, to that thing, and all the rest of this stuff. All you have to do is upload the file. So Portals is so much easier to where if you just want to experiment to see if somebody in your local group wants the part, or it's like, 10 guys who you're designed a part for their old Ford pickup, and they'll buy it from you. Then you just post it online and they can buy it from you. And you make a little bit of money on the side and you don't have to print it yourself. That's all working. Like the launch of Portals went super well because number one, we had baked it for a lot longer because we knew people were going to want it. But the Portals launched with 5 core colors and yes, the ability to upload. Last week we pushed a few features around the ability to delete and suppress and disable portals. And in the last couple of weeks, we've gotten several thousand users onto Portals. So it's been well received. And I'm glad you guys are liking it. So we're working to expand it now. Now, here's the thing. Portals was a 1 file, 1 color, all the way up. Update tomorrow / the next day, because you guys are going to be watching this on Sunday. We will be releasing a major update, basically Portals V2, 2 weeks after, for multi-part prints so that you can upload like 5 STLs and say, that one's purple, that one's green, this one's black, this one's there. And I want 10 of those and 4 of those and 3 of those. And that's one set. And that's a single set or a single item for Portals if you want something for people to assemble. So multi-part, multi-color prints will come available. And third-party parts will come available inside of Portals. So you will be able to make a brown base, a white shade, and include a light bulb or light puck with it inside of a portal. That is coming tomorrow / the next day. Give me a little bit of leeway on that one. We may do some extra testing on Monday. But that's going live. So Portals will have all the functionality of teleport, but you don't have to plug in an Etsy store. You don't have to plug in the Shippo and ShipStation. You don't have to do all this other stuff. You just create a portal. And then you have an active link that somebody can go to and buy. People have asked about a browser page for all of your portals. Like, I want a storefront with all 20 of my portals showing there. We hear you. We're working on stuff. In the short term, what you can do is for each one of the links that's created in a portal, you can just paste those into a link tree, and then you can create a link tree with your 20 items. So like, there's a large, there's a small, there's the weird chartreuse one, so on and so forth. So just use Linktree, and that's a really simple thing to do. And then the Linktree can be in your Instagram bio. I'll talk about that more in a second here. And then we will be releasing some more colors. So we did launch without white. That'll be fixed. So white will be coming out to Portals here soon, which is good for cookie cutters, night lights, lampshades, and white stuff. White is not a color that I recommend for anything because white can stain, white can scratch, white just has all the problems. So from a product design standpoint, it's not the most amazing, but you guys want white, so we're doing white. And it is necessary for like lampshades and things. Yeah. So that's all the stuff with Portals. So a bunch of new features dropping here in the next day or so. Check out Portals. It's over at slantpod.com. If you haven't already, literally, if you just design something on the weekend for your significant other, and you're just like, this is kind of a cool door wedge that I made that's for tying flies, upload it to Portals. It can't hurt you at all. And then you can share the link around and people can get a hold of it. And maybe you'll get a sale 10 years from now, but that's now possible. You don't have to actively monitor an Etsy store and be slave labor for that organization. You can just upload it and then make the money from it as it's sold. So yeah, Portals is really, really good right now. Oh, we also updated it. So general email. You should be able to sign up with just an email and not just do sign in with Google. So if you've been hold it off for that reason. You can now go use it too. So all those updates are coming here in the next couple of days. Yeah, Portals is exciting. I'm really excited for Portals. There's like, it's so useful to people. If you are like a content creator, if you're making videos, I'm going to use Little Ouchies as an example. They were someone who used Teleport last year, and they sold tens of thousands of these things. But what Craig did when he reached out to us is he's like, I have 5,000 orders, and I have to ship them in the next 3 days. Otherwise, TikTok's going to cancel the orders. And he was like, we were like, okay, plug into Teleport, import all your orders, and we can get them printed and shipped out for you fast enough because we got enough machines. But it was kind of cumbersome to get him onboarded. And admittedly, Teleport was only like freaking 2 months old at that point too, but it was a little bit cumbersome and it would still be sort of slow. It might take a day or two for verifications and stuff to come through with Teleport, connecting up your Etsy store and your TikTok and all the rest of it. But with Portals, he could have called us and said, I need these 5,000 orders. And then he could have created a listing on Portals and shared that on his TikTok video, and all the orders would have come straight through there in literally 30 seconds. It's so exciting to see, guys. It's hilarious to see how much confusion there is around Portals. Portals is not selling a file. No one sees the file except Slant 3D and the designer who uploads it. That's all there is. But people see it, and it's so easy to create a portal that people are like, stop sharing the files. You can't sell the files. And I'm like, we're not selling the files. We're selling the actual product. We're allowing the designer to get their item into the hands of humans, normal humans without a 3D printer. But that's really exciting because that disconnect shows how incredible Portals is. Like when you have a 10x better product, people react to it like, what? And then they try it and they're like, whoa, this is kind of cool. It's like going from flip phones to an iPhone. You have flip phones and you're there texting and you're typing. And you're like, I love clicking on flip phones. And then the iPhone shows up and you're like, why would I want that? I want a keyboard. I want to click on stuff. And then you use the iPhone and you're like, wow, this is really cool. I'm just doing all the things. And it feels so good. So Portals is it's one of those products. It's so enabling to allow a designer to get access to a giant factory and never have to engage with the giant factory, never have to know how it operates, not have to know how international shipping works or sales tax or answer endless emails. They just have to go. So Portals is sick. Portals is really sick by how enabling it is, because 5 years ago, if you wanted to manufacture a product, you had to know how molds work. You had to know how international relations work. You had to know how to find a supplier on AliExpress, ship it over, import it, store it in a warehouse, ship it to Amazon, distribute it around. All of that has disappeared. And now you just create an item, upload the model, and then anyone on the planet can get a hold of it. That's so amazing. So yeah, Portals is sick. All right, discussion topic: how to market your 3D printing business. This is the thing with Portals. Many people have had the question that has come up of like, great, I created a portal. I have my item uploaded. Anybody can get a hold of it. How do I market this? And this is true for your Etsy store, your Shopify, or anything else. All of those require some amount of marketing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to generically talk about how do you market your website. It might be a portal site. It might be Shopify. It might be your Etsy store. Okay. So if it was me, if I was starting my thing, and in fact, we're going to do this. We're probably going to do this video here at some point in the nearish future. If I created a portal, I created a design for cool 3D print, I uploaded it to my store, my Shopify, whatever else it was. The very first thing I would do is I would take my phone, I would put the thing on a table. Hopefully it's something demonstrable. If it's a pot, you put something in it. If it spins, then you make it spin. And I would hold the phone to it and I would hit record and I would make a 30-second video showing what the thing does. And then I would post that video instantly without editing much of it at all, just doing it live. Then I would make a second video and I would move the pot to a slightly different area that looks a little bit better and maybe put a plant next to it and maybe a pile of books. And then I would film a 30-second video of that and I would post it. Then I would take the pot, and I've gotten used to kind of holding the camera, and I would turn the camera towards myself and I would say, hey guys, so I designed this pot. The reason I love it so much is because all the other pots I had out there in the world just didn't work very well for me. So I went ahead and redesigned this one so that it's got this thing down on the bottom so that the water drains out better. And it's for a sale now. You can go to the link in my bio and get a hold of it because it's just got a way better way of doing this. And then you finish up talking about why it's good and what the problem is it solves. And then you post that video, unedited. And then you can go and make a fourth video. And you look at the pot, you do a demo, you cut, and then you turn to yourself and say, I designed this pot. It's really amazing because it's got the new hole down in the bottom. The money that I'm going to get from this is going to go towards funding some of my college or maybe just my groceries this week and that kind of stuff. If you want to buy it, you can go get a hold of it over here at my link in the bio. And then you post that video and you've just upgraded the cut. So you're going to do that 10 to 20 times. You're going to make 10 to 20 organic TikTok videos. Each video is going to get a little bit better than the one before, simply because you're making the videos. Just make the videos. Make 20 videos. Post them as soon as they're done. Don't get in your head about production value or anything else. Here's the rule for content. Show the item honestly, sincerely, and clearly, and explain why it matters to you and why it should matter to other people. That's it. That is the rule for a TikTok video. Show it off as demonstrably as you can. Hopefully it moves. And if it doesn't move, show what it's for, and then explain why it's good and why you love it. Because people want to connect with you as the designer, and they want to connect with a thing that is good for them, that solves their problem. So do that and make 10 TikTok videos. That is the first thing that I would do if I was starting from scratch. One item, 10 videos. And then you start getting better. And then you continue making those videos. Now, that's got you some organic views. On TikTok, if you've made those videos, you find the video that's doing the best. And you can buy a view on TikTok for 1/10 of a cent. So $10 will buy you 10,000 views. Literally, it's that cheap. You take the best video and you buy 10,000 views for $10. Go grab Uber and buy 10,000 views for $10. See what people say, see what people comment about it. You're making a 3D printed part, update it. Change it. And then you're going to make another video and say, hey, I just updated this. It's better than it was. You guys were all telling me about this. So I went ahead and tweaked this. And now it's better. You can go get it at my bio. And then you make 10 more videos about the upgrade. And you keep on going and you build that organic baseline for people to care about you. And you might get a couple of sales from that. That's a couple of sales. And you're going to keep on grinding because that's the way it is. There is no hack code. There's no cheat code to any of this. You just got to grind it out. And 10 videos is not that hard. You can knock out 10 30-second videos in about an hour pretty easily, even if you're being persnickety about stuff. Okay, 10 videos. Then you buy promoted views. You can boost a post on Instagram. You can buy ads against it, whatever. Okay, now you've got organic videos. People are starting to follow you. I would stay there. Stay on organic as long as you can. But like if that's starting to work, then you can buy more ads. You can do boosted posts on Instagram and paid traffic on TikTok. Those are two really easy ways to do it. Or you can go to Facebook or Google Ads, at which point you will plug in a tracking pixel from Facebook or the AdWords tracker inside of AdWords, and you're going to insert that into your website so that those two platforms know when somebody clicks to your site from the ad, and then you will buy ads against that. This is more challenging. This is kind of intimidating. This is when you will have to do some work or have ChatGPT help you. So that's step number 3, is go ahead and buy real ads by setting up a dashboard inside of Facebook or AdWords. Which one of those is best? I don't know. What is your product? If your product is functional and people go looking for the solution, use AdWords. If your product is cool and interesting and new and different, then you should probably do Facebook because you're going to present it to people who might be interested in that kind of thing. But they're not actively looking for it. Okay, now you've bought some ads. That's the basic thing. Once you get to, you have a dashboard set up, you're rolling and you can do pretty well. Other ways of promoting your products. You can be clever. If you're selling on portals, you can create a QR code for your portal and set it up where a herd of people who will be interested in that will go there. Like, okay, so a brewery could create a portal, put a QR for a portal for like a coaster, for like a beer coaster. And then they could take that portal, turn it into a QR code, paste it at the front of the brewery and say, hey, you can buy our shirt or you can buy some of our coasters over here. Scan that QR code and the coasters will show up a few days later. That is a way of promoting it too in the real world. Put it into a poster. You might be a band. You can set up that QR code out in your merch table if you're a band. There's those more organic ways of marketing. You can get clever. Make a giant balloon. Go rent a Goodyear blimp and put a QR code to your portal on the side of it. Get a billboard. Billboard would be sick. There's all kinds of ways you can promote your item. So after you get past organic content, then boosted organic content, then you get to ads. After that, marketing is a creative exercise of where are your people and how can you show them your thing fairly easily. So that's how you promote your business. You start with organic content by just getting used to it because that is the shot anymore. If you're running a small business, you have to do content. Then you boost the most popular part of that content. You buy views to get it even more views. Then you go ahead and start buying ads in general. And those ads, again, could just be those videos that you made before, or they can be formal ads. But that is how you promote and market your 3D printing business. Once you get to ads, then you can start trying other stuff. You can get clever. You can partner with an influencer. You can ship stuff around, whatever else it was. But before all of that, you have to make a video explaining what your item is and why it's useful. Then you boost the best versions of those videos after you've made 20 or 30 of them. Then you can go ahead and buy ads and you're ready to buy ads. You shouldn't buy ads first because you don't know if anybody cares organically. If nobody watches your stuff and nobody buys your thing because of the videos you're putting out, they certainly won't buy your stuff because of the ads you're putting out. Because those are the same sort of situation. An ad is just messier and dirtier. So if people don't watch your stuff as is, they won't watch your stuff when you're paying for them to care about it. And this is where people always waste money. So 10 to 20 organic TikTok videos. I'm saying TikTok videos, not anywhere else. TikTok. And then boost those posts, then start buying ads and sharing stuff around in other ways. That's how you market a 3D printing business. And if you're creating a portals, that's how you should market your portal. Here's the thing. As we grow and as portals continues to grow, Slant 3D will start to market portals for you. We have a really good e-commerce team here. We know when products are good and we know when they're not getting the traffic that they should. So we will start driving traffic towards portals once we have people in there and we have kind of a critical mass of stuff to promote. We will also start moving portals more towards a marketplace, kind of like Etsy, to where people can browse and shop and find cool stuff. But there's a critical mass for that. Right now, portals is designed to be the checkout place after somebody has visited your Instagram, after they got to know you, after they saw your storefront, after they read your blog post. You can have a little portals link that people can buy the thing that you're talking about. Or after somebody listened to your music, they can go buy your merch at the QR code out at the merch table. That is what portals is. It is a way to very quickly and easily get something for sale, get it made, and get it delivered, which was never possible before. So hopefully that was useful. That is how you promote your 3D printing business, be it whether you're doing Etsy, Shopify, whatever else it was. Etsy, of course, and some of these other platforms have built-in advertising tools, and Etsy has some organic traffic. But again, if your product can't be sold organically on TikTok, that won't sell organically on Etsy. That very rarely is the case. But alrighty, everybody. Well, I'll turn you all loose. Have a great day. This was an awesome podcast. And I'm not sure, but future me may be doing a live stream after this. It'll depend on how available I am this weekend. But stay around for that. It might be there. It might not. I'm not going to guarantee anything. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it. And if I is, I'm going to be walking on a path with a phone. But have a great day, everybody.